My job has a clothing pantry. He found a Rose Bowl jacket. We talked about that day on jacket for like a whole month. That's so pretty.
Well, I'm telling you, I was thrifting in Chicago and I found this Jordan backpack. I was excited about that.
Alrighty, we will go ahead and get started. 4:30. Welcome to this afternoon's Academic Achievement Committee meeting. And we will go ahead and look around. Do we have any public comments? Don't think we do. No, we do not. So we'll go ahead and I'll turn it over to you, Dr. Mitchell, to go ahead and do the welcome.
Good afternoon, Chairperson Ross and distinguished board members, and thank you for convening tonight for the Academic Achievement Committee meeting. We have a full schedule, and you'll see it on the tile in front of you, but we'll start with one of our staple items, of course, and hear an update from Jen Brock related to the Instructional Council update. All of the reports after that will be updating you on some of the work that's aligned with the strategic plan. So you'll hear about the Montessori and the IB brief from Executive Director Matthew Beresford, enrollment data from Executive Director Mel Atkins and Director Natasha Neal, our CSI, Comprehensive Support and Improvement Plan overview, and then a brief on the Book Nook high dosage tutorial program, and then I'll come back up and just forecast some of the topics that are on the upcoming agenda. And just like we always say, we do build the tiles so they build upon one another, and so we want it to be interactive. We also want to make sure you get all the information, and some of the information might be found in the tiles. So if you can hold the questions, great. If not, let's make it as interactive as needed. And with that being said, our first person up is Jen Brock, and I think Jonathan Harper will join her at the table for our Instructional Council update.
May I ask where you teach and what you teach? You may have been here and I didn't get it.
Well, this year the Instructional Council is actually led by the curriculum team, so I'm a representative from the curriculum team. My name is Jennifer Brock, and I am the Social Studies and World Language curriculum person.
Okay, thank you.
And we're very happy to have Jen. Good afternoon, everybody. I'm Jonathan Harper. Jen Brock stepped in this year, and thankful to have her on the curriculum team for Social Studies and World Languages. Previously, Dr. Kalambula was in that role, and is now serving in a building leadership capacity. So thank you, Jen.
So we met on March 16th, 2023. Amy Pony and I both co-chair this. We heard from Executive Director Dr. Gunnell, Principal from Southwest Middle High School, Mr. Ramirez Torres, and two representatives from the Hispanic Center of Western Michigan. They presented on a translation certification class that they would like to offer at Southwest for their seniors. It is a one-semester course. At the end of the course, the students will be certified to be able to translate and provide translation services. To kind of go on from there, the students will have the opportunity, and it will be laid out for them so that they are aware that they could continue to work within those translation services if they choose, get X amount of hours, and then be able to take further courses to be able to be certified at higher levels. This course does need certification, so the teachers who teach it must be certified. So as the course is being taught to the scholars, teachers will also go through the program to be certified so that they can teach the course during the pilot, which is next year. They will have, the Hispanic Center will have two representatives who will teach the course, and then from there on, it will be hopefully GRPS teachers who teach the course. Then we had we heard from Burton Middle School, who would like to offer a Heritage Speakers of Spanish course. This course is being taught at Union, so we talked about providing this course as a high school credit for this middle school. So the course itself wasn't being vetted, it was the resources, because they will be using different resources for this class that is more middle school engaged. The course has 3 levels of proficiency, so that students walking in, it won't matter where their proficiency is, they'll be able to differentiate to meet the scholar where their level is. The program is, I should probably say what the program is. The program is in Voz Alta, and they have many resources, digital, and we're also getting the textbook versions all at the 3 levels. That is the plan.
How do you spell that? You say
EN, VOZ, and then Alta, ALTA.
Thank you.
And that program was well vetted through that committee who's going to bring it into that school. Lastly, we brought in Mrs. Malika Brown, who is the Director of Equity and Inclusion. We brought her in just to kind of talk about the policy. She brought in the equity policy number 1017, which was adopted in the bylaws in 2021. And then she just sort of went through a rough overview of how they're creating guidelines for teachers to be able to assist with that policy. So these are very rough, nothing is final, that her group is working on. And then the council kind of discussed if there would be some sort of maybe something written up so that we could add it to our course syllabus so that students are aware of these changes, but also potentially, whenever there's a policy update in years prior, we had to sign just sort of a thing saying that we've read it, and maybe doing that too so that people are also aware. The meeting was then adjourned, and then our next meeting will be Thursday, April 20th from 1 to 3.
Any questions for Ms. Brock?
No, this last thing that you spoke of, your goal is to incorporate the diversify and equity and so on into all the classes in all the schools eventually, or?
In the syllabus. Wait, you're talking about Malika Brown?
Yes,
Yeah,
yes.
the equity inclusion,
Mhm.
yes. We would like to see something on the syllabus just showing that equity statement.
Maybe what we'll do is have that be one of the forecasting topics, right? So I usually come at the end and talk about topics that need to come up, and you hear more about it. We can share that particular clause here, so then you know exactly what we're referencing.
And this was an ask by instructional council, so nothing, again, has been finalized.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear you.
This was an ask by the instructional council, so nothing has been finalized, so just.
Yeah.
Going back to that translation services piece, that pilot course, where are we looking to pilot that?
Oh, I'm sorry, Southwest?
Southwest, maybe you said, I just didn't
Yeah.
know, okay. All right, thank you.
Are there the plans for opportunities for like the children to get actual experience doing a translation or any type of internship set up for that?
So they will have actionable practice. I don't know how much has been final. This was just sort of the planning stage and letting instructional council know what's coming, and then there's another stage.
Yeah, sure, I can speak to that too, because that was part of several of the initial planning sessions. The idea is, yes, they will have opportunities to actually do translation services in partnership with the Hispanic Center. And as Mrs. Brock mentioned, it's kind of like an entry level. When the scholars turn 18, there are other opportunities for them to earn additional certifications, including medical and other things that they can do, but they do have to be 18 to earn that. So this is an opportunity for seniors to take that first step towards those certifications, and if they choose to pursue additional certifications, then the Hispanic Center is working to make sure that they have access to those pathways. So it's an interesting opportunity for the Scholars at Southwest. It's been advocated for very well by Principal Ramirez, and so really working closely with that staff to make sure that it's on point. It's an exciting opportunity.
So are these 2 new classes that you want to see, or are they already approved and they're moving on for next year?
This would be a pilot, so
Okay.
this initial implementation will be a
Both
pilot
of them,
year. Yeah.
pilots?
Yes.
And then just the last thing on that, the first iteration is going to be led by staff from the Hispanic Center, or?
Yes,
Okay.
yes,
Yeah,
because
then the idea was get our
Mhm.
teachers certified, and then they
Correct.
could lead it. Okay.
Yeah, the nice thing is the teachers can engage in the process
For sure.
with their scholars, and so the teachers can become certified. And so that way we're not reliant upon the Hispanic Center to deliver the content, but still want to keep a very close partnership with them.
Gotcha.
Yep.
Yep. All right, thank you. All right, thank you very much. Appreciate you, Ms. Brock.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So, next up, it's okay. We will ask Executive Director Matthew Beresford, I'm gonna get it right, Beresford, to come up, Beresford, to come up and talk about the Montessori program in IB.
What's up?
That's kind of oxymoron. Bears and
Oh,
Fords,
yeah.
no lions.
We're just saying the
know.
Bears in the Lions territory, all of that, Matthew.
but-
All of that. All right. Well, let me start off with Montessori. And I will be brief, but Montessori deserves to start first as our oldest theme in the district. 50-year local conference done with a timeline of the many spaces and places of Montessori learning and GRPS right before the pandemic, right, in the winter of 2020, I believe. So these are our 3 Montessori elementaries that then lead into Grand Rapids Montessori Middle High, which is housed as an academy within Innovation Central currently. These principles and practices are the bread and butter of Montessori pedagogy, and I'll zoom into a couple without reading them all. First, a mixed-age classroom, starting all the way in early childhood. The 3-year-olds, the 4-year-olds, and the kindergartners learn in this idyllic classroom called Children's House, half days, at the 3 schools. And then 1st, 2nd, and 3rd are in the elementary 1 grade level, and then 4th, 5th, and 6th are in elementary 2, and then middle school starts at 7th in Montessori. 7th and 8th exists over at North Park, along with Grand Rapids Montessori, and then the high school learning happens at Grand Rapids Montessori.
At North Park is the junior high?
On the 3rd floor of North Park, there are middle schoolers.
But
Yep.
the lower level is the young
Is the
kids?
elementary, and then Wellerwood has the Children's House classrooms for North Park, which is only a quarter mile away down Cheney. A common principle that exists in all of the elementary, and we're hoping that it becomes realized in a new secondary building, if that is to happen, is that uninterrupted work period. So 3 hours uninterrupted work time is the cycle that meets accreditation rules, and currently none of our Montessoris are accredited, but we're trying to put all of these practices into place to get that accreditation soon. And then also that prepared environment, that the materials in that early childhood classroom in that picture look very different than in our traditional kindergartens or 1st grades. And they're by design to teach math and writing and phonics and literacy, all in their unique curriculum with those hands-on materials first. And then our Tier 1 curriculums that we purchase, like Go Math, as a supplemental resource. And then when we move on, you don't learn those principles and those materials by happenstance working on your undergraduate as a teacher. So we have to invest in our teachers at the 3 Montessoris. And these pie graphs show the blue of how many teachers or what percentage have been trained at the 3 schools. And then the orange are staff that are currently enrolled. And then the smaller no is those teachers haven't yet accepted the invitation. It's not required. We don't do on to our teachers. We wait until they're at the right season in their practice that they are ready to learn. But I definitely have an encouraging conversation every year that I have budget to support the staff getting trained, kind of doing an all-call across all the schools. And an exciting part about Grand Rapids Montessori specifically is there was 4 teachers there that were asking and advocating for, well, 4 years. And we didn't have the resources, and we didn't have a great secondary Montessori program identified, but they started last year. So this is their second summer intensive, and then they do online during the school year while they're teaching.
Now, are these college classes where they get credit from a university?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there's a partnership agreement with that one, CM Step in Cincinnati with Xavier. And then also CGMS is they will want to get the training. And that's just the reality of how many teachers are interested in teaching in this mixed grade classroom, right? And then, just trying to support them for the right timing of when they want to accept it. Knowing that to get accredited, just like I talked about that 3-hour uninterrupted work cycle, another piece is that a majority of the staff, it doesn't have to be 100%, but a majority have to be Montessori trained. And so we're just passing that majority rule over at Ridgemore, if you see there, with a very small staff of 7.
Does it help that other teachers are trained and they can help the other team? I just see like Ridgemore has way less teachers trained for Montessori, where the other 2 schools have a lot more teachers. And how are we making that school? Because I'm just guessing that the other 2 schools maybe are doing much better, in that Montessori, I don't know.
The fidelity, we call it.
Thank
So
you.
the fidelity of Montessori learning, right? And the reality is, though, the 7 is based off the full-time enrollment at Ridgemore is much less, with a school of 150 versus North Park that's at 350-ish, or Grand Rapids Montessori that has 500 plus when you go pre-K-12. So that's a little bit of the teacher scale. But there are retired teachers from all 3 schools that come back and support newer teachers. And then, of course, teachers in the building, like last night, Miss Lewis gave a shout out to Miss Sharon over at Ridgemore for the conferences, right? And she's a very seasoned Montessori Children's House teacher that is mentoring others.
Miss Davis.
Miss Davis.
Yeah. I don't want to take any credit for what she said.
Miss Williams.
I
think it was Miss Williams, actually, yeah.
Kim.
No, I think it was Miss Davis.
It was Ms. Davis. Yeah, pretty sure too. Anyway.
So can we transition to IB?
Well, we're quick on
Sure.
The accreditations. Time-wise schedule, accreditations, when are they, what's the rotation? When does it have to be re-accredited? And
Right. So none of our 3 schools are currently accredited. We're working towards it. There's a council called the Montessori Advisory Council that I facilitate quarterly. And that council is made up of staff members, parents, and even Sammy joined a meeting. So scholars to high schoolers we try to get into to seek that accreditation. That's one of the goals of that council. And we've never met accreditation yet as a district at any of our Montessoris, but we're investing to not be in Montessorta, right? But Montessori, right? And we don't want to be called out for false advertising, right? So we work really hard. And when you observe any of these classrooms or schools, they do look different, and the teaching model is very different.
What is holding us back from being accredited?
Well, for the middle high, it's its own unique bell schedule that can't be attained as one of the pieces currently when it's spaced with Innovation Central, along with a lot of project-based learning, different things. Kinder, that's a middle school's like kind of farm business that exists in Montessori. So I can definitely share that as a follow-up, is kind of the 10 criterias to get accredited.
Gotcha. Yeah, that'd be good to see. Thank you. And then the last thing on that, and we can move forward, is it a matter of just any given year that we have met those criteria, then we apply? It's just
Yeah, and then you go through this candidacy stage, but it is faster from what I've learned from helping through some schools through the IB. That process seems longer than Montessori.
Thank you.
So as we transition to IB and the IB learning pathway preschool to 12, there are two elementaries that feed to city. And this slide here kind of breaks down those accreditations that they attained and the grade levels involved. So the primary years program, Coit got accredited approximately 2 years ago, and then Sherwood was on that candidacy process about a year behind. It takes about 3 years for that candidacy process. And then it's a renewal every 5 years. City has had the middle years program and the diploma program since the 1990s-ish, from my research. And they're definitely the most experienced as far as doing the reauthorization process and whatnot. Now, what you won't see with this this brief on IB is pie charts on staff training, because IB mandates that all new teachers in their first year attend training. And so that's in that job description. If you accept a position in any of these 3 schools, that you understand that additional training comes with. And then also continued training for returning staff.
Now, when the kids start at one of these schools, especially the ones that are in elementary, they don't all have to be in the IB curriculum, or do they all have to be?
Everyone learns in the units of inquiry, UOIs, and there's 8 different units, and the teachers need to teach at least 4 a year, as I understand it. Mm-hmm.
So any student that goes there then
are learning through the primary years program as their, but the resources from ReadyGen and Go Math integrate well into the units, because again, they're all standards aligned to grade level, and it starts all the way up pre-K.
So the educators that are hired into the IB programs are hired under the commitment to learning or getting that certification, correct?
Mm-hmm.
But the educators that apply and are hired into the Montessori do not have to commit to getting the certification.
It says that it's recommended in the job description, but it's not required upon hire.
But the IB is required.
Mm-hmm. And then just like I showed the Montessori principles, these IB learner profiles are taught and supported, and it's a common language all the way from preschool up to graduation. And so you'll see a lot of life skills, a lot of 21st century skills in that, skills that help you in college and in life, taking risks, being inquirers, clear communications. They're presenting in the elementary grades, younger than you would usually see, to their classmates and having discourse. So any questions on this? And also an invitation that City wanted to put out there is tomorrow night, City will be having their middle years program exhibition of their final projects of their 10th graders to kind of summarize their learning from the middle years all the way up to 10th, and then they jump into the diploma program just for 11th and 12th.
And that's obviously occurring at City tomorrow when?
5 to 7.
An auditorium or cafeteria?
Yeah, I believe in the gym.
The gym.
Yeah. And you might even see a scholar named Charlotte Beresford with her project as she makes that transition from
Oh, yeah,
MYP
yeah,
into
that's-
DP.
Yeah. So it's the walk around deal. That's right. I remember now. Yeah. All right. Cool. Any other questions for Mr. Beresford?
No, thank you.
I'm really aware of just how much work it takes to uphold like IB, Montessori, or even like project-based learning. There are several themes that we have in our district that just, so I guess it's not really a question as much as just I'm aware that as we think through the idea of making more themes and more topics like this, that it will take some significant financial and like organizational work to pull that off. Yeah, I don't know if there's times where the elementary schools are helping each other, especially since one has been it for a while, or if that's happening. I mean, that could be a way to spread the.
That's a great wondering. Next year, they're planning on PLCing together, the two PYP schools, because Sherwood only has one teacher per grade. And so it really helps where Coit has two teachers per grade. So that third grade team can then be 3 teachers for that PLC. So that should be more powerful. And then, of course, we'd like to leave you with some ways to invite you to support. So joining us and seeing the rich learning that our scholars did at City tomorrow, and then also thinking about how to offer this opportunity to others, right? The access point of where these programs are located and where they could in the future.
Does the IB program, could it possibly be inside of another school and be separate? Like, so there's like, we have certain, or maybe one classroom is this and one classroom isn't, so that neighborhoods, I still look at it like a neighborhood school, right? And then the IB program is so, it seems pretty intense. Like if I'm just living across the street and I came here, I didn't come here for this, you know? I just came here to do the arts, that's it, you know? So it's like, but now I have to learn this way. Is there opportunities? And I know the Montessori, probably not so much, you know? But for this, it seems like possibly something that could be inside of another school, much easier than a Montessori.
I agree that the compatibility for us PYP or IB program to coincide with another theme or program in a school, if there's space, it could work.
All right. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Mr. Atkins is coming up for the enrollment data, but I think what you're speaking to also speaks to our repair criteria in terms of which specialty programs might scholars have based on quadrants and wanting to make sure it's accessible in every quadrant. So that's something we're grappling with. Thank you, guys.
Good afternoon again. Mel Atkins, Executive Director in Community and Student Affairs.
Natasha Neal, Director of Community Student Affairs and Student Services.
And so Natasha is going to really do the bulk of the presentation today, at least this enrollment presentation.
Yep, so I'm just going to give you guys a brief overview of the previous 2 years of enrollment data from fall to spring, and talk a little bit about enrollment, recruitment, and retention strategies that we are working on right now and plan to put in place in the very near future. So what you guys are looking at right now is our enrollment for the previous 2 years, the blue line being 2021-22, the orange line being 22-23, and what we have is fall count to spring count. And I will say, spring count is not certified yet. We just did that last month, and it won't be certified until May. SDS will go through audits. The state will come in and look at records and make sure that our numbers are numbers. So those won't be certified until May, but preliminarily, that's where we are.
So we've lost,
No, we're, well, that was the fall.
Between
yes, I
fall,
can't see that far away.
So there's an uptick of maybe 23 students from fall. to
between
spring.
fall and spring.
It's gone up and down.
Yeah.
What you guys see here is the students who are enrolled in neighborhood schools and theme schools. Fall 21, there were 12,938 active GRPS students, In fall 22, 12,860 active GRPS students, and the ratio of students in theme schools and neighborhood schools stayed roughly the same. So a few of the things that we are doing right now, knowing that enrollment, retention, and recruitment is a high priority. If we don't have students, then what are we doing here? So our office has been charged with working on enrollment. So we separated our strategies into 4 buckets, which is fact-finding, what are we doing now, professional learning, for our staff and for our families, staff engagement, and then community engagement. So a couple examples of what we're doing for fact-finding is we've gone through a marketing audit with an outside company. So we have the data back from the marketing audit, and also we are mining the data. So we talk about utilizing data and making data-driven decisions. So we have a dashboard in our Synergy program that will allow us to track enrollment and enrollment trends and drill down even to grade levels or classrooms. For some professional learning, we have 4 modules that were created by the marketing company, and the modules should hit principals, they should hit building secretaries, they'll hit PALs, they'll hit support staff, and they range from sort of enrollment 101, what does everyone need to know, to how to conduct a productive school tour, which is something that we're looking to implement for the next school year. Staff engagement, we have created two teams. So we have a district level enrollment advisory council that is comprised of principals from various theme, neighborhood, various quadrants of the city, to ensure that we have representation from all groups. And we talk about enrollment, retention, recruitment on a district level, but we are also proposing that every building have an enrollment, retention, and recruitment team, because right now it's basically the principal, probably the head secretary, and maybe a PAL or a teacher. We want to get that sort of codified, a team that's responsible for social media, going out into the community, a designated team that can do some of that work. And then community engagement, using every opportunity to be present, showing up at, parades put on by the city, being at the park when we have movies in the park, just constantly pushing GRPS and the programs that we have to offer. This is how we'll continue to engage community members, but also asking for feedback. What are we doing well? What do we need to work on? Surveying parents about not only why are you leaving, but asking parents, why did you choose us and why are you staying? And then utilizing that data to move forward and also make decisions.
Would this marketing company that we're working with, is this something where they would go out in the communities and like talk to people in the communities, or maybe just hit the kids who are 4 or 5 years old that you might be able to convince parents to send their kids to the neighborhood school? Do they do that kind of thing?
So this marketing company does not do the sort of boots on the ground door knocking, but we have worked with a team before that did the door knocking, collected some of that data, spoke to people that may or may not go to GRPS. So we have a company to do that part of it. The marketing company we're working with right now is sort of looking at what we're doing. They did a dive into our website. They did a secret shopper at a few of our schools, gave us feedback there. And the person that we work with, his job was to advertise for charter schools. And so now he's working with public schools to help us, go get kids.
Tell everybody how good we are, right?
Absolutely, absolutely. A couple ways that we invite you guys to support us is really be walking billboards and commercials for GRPS. And as we go through the facilities master plan and continue to work on the strategic plan, knowing that we are keeping scholars first, but also enrollment, retention, and recruitment is a priority. We have to have kids. And in an ever-changing market where we are competing against so many different types of schools, it is going to be incredibly important that we make this a priority.
Questions?
No, I don't. Is there any conversation around preschool, paid preschool, in terms of enrollment? That's my connection.
So counting the preschool kids as part of our enrollment.
No, well, I mean, just even today, someone asked me, why doesn't Grand Rapids have any preschool for paid families? So I've heard that since I had my own kids in preschool. They're now old. But that's one way where neighbors can get connected to the community, early on. So I know that's been on the docket, at least being talked about in the periphery for a while. So just didn't know if it was
Yeah, we can
still-
definitely, not prepared to answer this second. We can
Yeah,
definitely take
yeah.
it back and provide a response.
Yeah, I didn't know if that was even in conversation around enrollment, but I know a lot of districts do that where they say, if we can get the four-year-olds in here rather than a charter or a private school, then they get to know the community, et cetera,
Absolutely, yep.
So that could be an enrollment response.
Mr. Atkins, I don't know if it made it to you, but at one of the NSBA conferences, I went to a session by a group called CASA, something, CA. It did, yeah. So I don't know, I guess just what it was is it's a company and they do like some of the door knocking that Ms. Neal spoke of, but their whole piece is doing some heavy engagement with families in the geographical boundary who have children that don't attend, as well as even those maybe who prior attended but didn't show in the fall. And they really do, and again, I just had a kind of the sales pitch, so of course I'm giving you the sound good piece of it. But end of the day though, it did seem pretty intense though, and they do a lot of communication by phone, email, text, and just household door knocking visits. And their sort of real selling pitch was that, let's say if we gave them a list of 5,000, for example, any cost is only incurred based on the students from that 5,000 that do end up enrolling. And of course, there's some sort of negotiated cost, but I didn't get into that level of detail with them. But I thought it was intriguing at least. I just didn't know if I had chatted with them at all.
We have.
Yep, we talked about it, and what we thought was take some of the things that we're already doing, so let the company that we're working with right now sort of tell us where our gaps are, knowing though, and so using both companies in conjunction with each other. So one company that would do a lot of the engagement and the door knocking and the talking to folks, but then we have another company that's telling us high level, sort of this is what your staff needs, this is what your website needs, doing that sort of work, but using both.
I think a few things that we could also look at is engaging our parents more and getting the stories of our parents, because we are the reasons why our kids are in GRPS. They don't choose what schools they go to, and I just feel like as a parent, I'm not engaged enough, and so I don't always feel like a partner or a customer, but like I don't have a choice, and so I'm just here, So I think that as a district, we need to figure out ways that we engage our parents more to make us feel like we're partners in this with it, and that we're customers of GRPS, and that we're appreciated. Also, our community partners, our early childhood centers that are here, partner with them more. I get River City scholars coming to my center, like they bring cupcakes, they bring books, they invite us over to do kindergarten tours. So our whole class of 16 went to River City last week, and we toured the school. We had a whole day of kindergarten. But we also have 4 right in walking distance. MLK and walking distance. Those are type of partnerships. We really need to be seeking those early childhood centers. GSRP is a good way to find where they are and try to, get our kindergartners out. Parents don't know where our young fives are, and young fives is a thing too. Like, I don't think GRPS has any young fives. And so a lot of parents need young fives because of the GSRP dates. So GSRP allows your kid to be 5 by December 1st, 4 by December 1st. And so when it's time for kindergarten, they see they need another year. And so then that pushes them out the district as well. So just a little insight.
Thank you.
Idea and something that we've been talking about and do engage in is that vertical recruiting. So how it happens frequently is middle schoolers going up to high school to visit, or like you see the future Red Hawk type programs. And so that's what you're describing at an even earlier age.
Yeah.
So the EDs are taking notes, I know they are, and are thinking about what we do that we did not communicate and or what we will add. The other thing that I'll say in the name of forecasting, I'll come up later and just solidify this. More in the summer, we're slated to have a early childhood type brief where you will hear that we do have pre-K tuition-based programming existing now, but we'll unpack that a little more. But we are taking notes in terms of the overlap and the omission. So thank you for that. Keep it coming.
Our intention, isn't it, to have some sort of a preschool or childcare thing at the bus station? Didn't we talk about that?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, at the Rapid, that was, some,
Where's that now?
yeah, that's a good question.
I'm sorry, I can't hear you.
So hold on 1 second. That's okay. Don't come up, because what we'll do is we're going to transition anyway.
That could
and
be a
Mr.
forecasted.
Harper is coming up, and Mrs. Neal is stepping back so we can do CSI. But we will
Thank you.
make sure that the Rapid Early Childhood Program, as well as in general our briefing on the Early Childhood Program, comes up. And if you want it sooner, because right now it's slated for summer, but if you want to move that up, we can do that.
Well, that's fine, it's in the works.
But I get what you're saying now.
It's in the works, it's going to happen.
All right, let me sit down, because I didn't understand the,
She just asked, she was just trying to get confirmation that that's still in motion, that's still.
it is still in motion.
Okay.
It is still in motion, and if you want, we will have a more detailed report, and I'm suggesting that on the 3-month forecasting document, it says summer, but we can move that up too. So yes, it's still happening, still in place. And now we're transitioning to CSI. And the one thing that I do want to say is, while there have been schools identified for this list, we have been using this opportunity to really think about system-wide how we ensure that we have leading practices in all of our schools, and looking at all of our schools and what we make system-wide and what needs to be nuanced. So with that being said, Mr. Atkins, I think, is kicking us off.
And so CSI, Comprehensive Support and Improvement, what it stands for. If you have many names, think of priority schools, lowest 5%. There's many names in the last, I would say, decade or so, but this one is just CSI, the Comprehensive Support and Improvement Schools. And there are 3 schools that we're referring to that were named, and you see at this this timeline in November, where it's Campus Elementary, Alger Middle School, and Ottawa Hills High School are the 3 schools that were identified. 2 of them for their overall index score, and then 1, Ottawa, for their grad rate for one particular year was named. And so what this is really trying to show you is we've been working through what we call is a 30, 60, 90-day timeline. 30 days you had to do X, 60 days you had to do this, and 90 days you had to do this. We haven't reached a 90-day point yet. April 17th is that day. And so we're just about, 3 to 4 weeks before we have to officially submit anything to the state. But we just want to give you just a high-level overview of what's occurring during this process with Michigan Department of Education, also our Kent ISD, and then also GRPS. When we say GRPS, it's really central office. You're looking at systems and structures we put in place, but also we're working with those 3 schools as well. And so first we looked at the needs assessment. When you do anything with data, you look at your existing data, your comprehensive needs assessment. What does the data say? What is it telling you? We'll look at current data, previous data, why'd you get on a list, kind of a comprehensive view of all data sources was kind of the big push that we did. And then after that, we begin to, I'm gonna shift a little bit because this is gonna really tell you, we're in that middle section around it says where it's discover whole child data, create data sets, initial data analysis. And so one thing we've done, and I think we've done this as a system in our minds, but we've never really written it down in the sense that initiative inventory, really write down all the things that are happening through an academic lens, non-academic lens, systems lens, and you have like kind of a other bucket too. And you will be amazed the list that you have if you do it collaboratively. And so you may think we have 4 things going, or 3 things going. No, you have 15 things. And sometimes it's not the building, it can be the system, the district saying, we done this, we're doing this. And so that was a really eye-opening experience, I think, for everyone as we went through this process. And then we looked at this resource allocation of how, look at all your funding sources between Board of Education funding, ESSER, your grant dollars, can be Title I, 31A, you got Title II. There's a lot of different grants that we have, put them all together. And then what are these schools getting? And we ranked, and it was ranked, and it's coming from the state. They have access to our data. And it shows you are the schools that are in most need, are they getting the dollars that they need? And so that was not always the case. And so we're looking at where our dollars going. There will be additional funding through 2 other funding sources we call 21H and this regional assistance grant funding that we will have. But looking at that information was all under that assessing the needs. In the next week or 8 days, there will be, 2 additional meetings that we have with the MDE and the ISD, where we're doing our gap analysis, district data story, and then we're going to shift into the root cause analysis and things of that nature. We had a couple snow days in there, so we're just a couple days behind, but we're still going to hit the deadline. And then at the end, before April 17th comes along, what we need is, I know we're going to need 3 signatures. We're going to need superintendent, board president, and the ISD superintendent to say, yes, this plan is something that I support. Well, we don't have it done yet. We will have it done in the next probably two and a half weeks. And then we will share that information. And then we know from a full board perspective that we have to come back here at least 2 times per year to give updates. And we can actually, up the frequency if needed with that. So today's purpose is we don't have the full plan ready yet. It's going to be happening the next couple weeks, but we want to give at least a high-level overview of what's been happening as it relates to these schools in this process with that. And as you see, as we were doing with each of the presentations, I just talked around the semi-annual board updates, and then this is all stemmed around a strategic plan. And there's still one plan, that was a strategic plan, and the focus on increasing math and reading proficiency and meeting holistic scholar needs. Are there any questions around process or where we're going?
Now, is this something that's we're working on so we can identify kids who need extra help?
Part of this is looking at our Dr. Lovey Mitchell talked around our processes. What do we do collectively as a system? There were 3 schools identified, but we're looking at what we do beyond the 3 schools, even though we're working with them. And so somebody is going to come across as if they need, say we talked about, additional tutoring. I know that's coming up next. If that's a support structure that's needed, we're identifying that. What we're trying to put in through a multi-tier system of support, what does this all entail and look like? Good question.
Well, I'm just thinking this through. So we're talking in such generalities of like, improving math, reading, and holistic needs of kids. It's great. How can we help, or even, so some of the things that we've already approved, like the therapists, I think we mentioned 16 therapists. Yep. Are any of those specifically going to the schools that are most?
Yes, and so one thing we have looked at is, for example, 2 of the schools, Campus and Alger have KSSN, the Kent School Services Network, supports. Ottawa Hills have Cherry Health Services. And then we layer on top of that. Sometimes you may need an additional GRPS mental health therapist. But we let the needs assessment define that. And so then you look at your resource allocation, your dollars, are you really using where it needs to go? So it all kind of fits. with this. And what we're doing now is just really the gap analysis. And so that's why it's hard to answer. Typically, it's your goals are going around the ABCs, attendance, behavior, or course performance, or something like that. Is typical what you're going to see. But we're looking at system structures is important.
Is there a dip at all into the community itself to ask? I mean, I know community or the comprehensive needs assessment is really administrative. It's, kind of a top-down look, which is really important. Is there a part of this process, because definitely not in the strategic plan, but is there something that you can incorporate or have incorporated that asks the scholars themselves, the parents, like Ms. Wade mentioned, as you form that plan?
Well, some of the data points, like we just got, I'm gonna give it a perfect example, was we had scholar data as it relates to Panorama survey data. We had family surveys, then we had staff surveys for the first time around those three structures. And we just got the information, so we're still getting information out. That's one of the structures, but we're trying to put, to say, teams in the buildings that it's not a one-time thing that you get parent input, that this is something that you do. We know we got to get better at it. We know there are some bright spots at some schools, either with PALs or sometimes structures like that, but we know at the schools that we're referring to that we're trying to collect voice. We are.
I think whether it's through the F&P internal engagement processes or PALs, like you mentioned, or Panorama, or the ILTs, the PLCs, there are a number of structures in place that do engage teacher, non-teacher, but in the building, scholars and family. Those are some of the ways that we're collecting data and then making some adjustments. The other pieces relate to fully staffing buildings, which we have been working on how we incentivize professionals who work in the buildings who have been named, but just in general working on different mechanisms to make sure that all of our buildings are fully staffed. Those are some of the ways. We talked earlier about letters for educators, letters for administrators, teaching works, English and math. Those are some of the other ways that are being baked in, and I would say baked in a 3 to 5 year plan to address these things, but really trying to create the structures and the systems for it. So there are different levels of engagement.
Okay, that's good to hear.
Yeah,
Thanks.
it's important.
Yeah, I just remember going back to one of the public comments about Ottawa and all the things that the staff have to do extra to support the needs of the students there. And just hearing some of the stories when I visit there, I think that there's a lot of things that we can do around, just centered around the whole child, like what we're doing after school for our athletes that are not getting them meals in between lunch and practice, and for our students that are working at night, and what's the mornings looking like for them. So it's good to know that you're getting the staff feedback because they see all of that firsthand, and a lot of things parents just don't want to share, or students can't share because some things just might not be, comfortable. So our staff are seeing those things, and so getting that insight from our staff is definitely going to be valuable.
I think one of the ways that it manifests is thinking about then policies that allow for us to be creative related to clubs and supports. That's one of the manifestations. And so let me drill down off of the policy and talk about a manifestation, like specifically. So I was talking about the incentivizing staff to be in the buildings. One of the other things that we've been working on is how do we honor scholar voice by creating clubs for non-athletic and or athletic, but that's another way of engagement, and to me, another wraparound support type service. But the policy then is, the policy of the flexibility of creating those kind of clubs and supports and allocating the dollars to support financially the adults that are stepping in that way.
Thank you.
I thought somebody was snapping.
Were you snapping?
I thought he was. That was his key.
I'll call it a snap.
Oh, no, you can snap. It's okay.
That was good though, because a lot of times, well, especially since I'm really new here, I try to think, okay, now how do we support that? And so you just really said, like, policies that allow us to be creative.
Right.
Like, how do we create policies that say, you know, it's okay for this, and this
Right.
to happen? So that was like,
Yeah.
that was like one of the first times that I sat up here and somebody told me exactly what I could do.
Yeah, that is it, though. The ends in terms of what you want to see are programs, clubs, wraparound services, that create this end deliverable product. That's a policy. And I don't feel like we don't have permission to do that, because that's what we've been doing in terms of the CSI process. I think we don't want the light of the CSI process, but what the silver lining in it is being able to scrutinize and interrogate and then lift up. So here are the gaps or the things that we think are levers to move it forward. So I shared the manifestation, but that is the governance policy part of it. Additional questions or concerns before we move to Book Nook?
I'm okay
I
right
don't
now.
think so.
You're okay with that?
Thank you.
I'm okay, Fran, if you need to.
I'm good.
Okay. Yeah, go for it.
All right, thank you. Yes, the last topic on our agenda today is the Book Nook high dosage tutoring. This is a follow-up to a presentation done for the Finance Committee. And then, of course, thank you for your support with the full board in our meeting, not yesterday, but the previous one. And so we just want to make sure that Academic Achievement Committee members are aware what this is and allow opportunity for questions. So Book Nook tutoring, high dosage tutoring is a combination of a synchronous teaching platform with an adaptive curriculum and then highly trained tutoring services specifically focused on reading, so literacy. The tutors themselves, Book Nook actually has approximately 100,000 professionally trained tutors, all specifically with ELA. They all have at least 1 year of teaching experience, including experience with online teaching. All tutors do have at least a bachelor's degree or above, and they are really quite expert in online management skills. So the teaching platform itself is done in a simultaneous synchronous small group format. So we're looking at groups of 4 scholars, group based on their map growth data. And lessons are done, they are done online, and they can be done at home or at site-based. And when we say online or in person, that's what we're referencing. The system does allow for measurements of impact, performance, tracking progress, all those sorts of things. So there's a data dashboard that comes with that. The platform does provide adaptive curriculum to meet scholars where they are and then accelerate them. So that's the point, is not to just meet them where they are, but to accelerate them through this tutoring process. So that's why the frequency of the tutoring is important and the dosage of the tutoring is important. So it's delivered for the scholars and where they are. It is very much grounded in the science of reading, and the content they engage in through the tutoring process is authentic, diverse. It includes relevant texts, and they do continue to expand their library of resources as well. The focus for this tutoring is through kindergarten through 8th grade, based on our map growth data, scholars scoring at or below the 40th percentile on map growth reading will be invited to participate. There'll be 2 programs, one during the summer, that's a cohort of 300 scholars that we'll do during the summer. And that program, as I mentioned, I want to back up one. So on the bottom left where we talk about synchronous or online, scholars during summer, whether they participate in our Summer of Success program, they can also participate in Book Nook tutoring. It is not a requirement for them to be part of Summer of Success to be part of the Book Nook tutoring. So we could have groups of scholars engaging through the platform, right, synchronously with their tutor. And some of those scholars may be part of Summer of Success where they're on site with us, and then others may be at home. And this program actually will extend beyond the Summer of Success platform into early August, so that those tutoring sessions will happen from July through early August.
All right, now just one question. When you talk about working with kids in groups of 4, would that mean that they would be physically together to work in groups of 4, or?
Synchronously, virtually together, okay? So during Summer of Success, if a scholar is with us physically in a building with Summer of Success, we actually have an intervention block mapped out for them. So those scholars could be in a space together, but if they're engaging with scholars, their peers that maybe not be part of Summer of Success, they would also be virtually joining. All of the content that was delivered via the technology tool, the platform with the virtual tutor.
And the content all comes from somebody else. It's not teachers creating the
No. The content is it's delivered based on the platform that they have, and then the entry point and the tailored access is based on their initial map growth score.
I just want to layer this in too, and I'm recalling, so help me clean up my language if I get it tweaked. I was just really impressed with some of the efficacy report data in terms of the impact with schools with like demographics utilizing this tool. So I think it was the Columbia College of Education, and in particular their Prince George, which I think is Maryland,
Prince George's County.
data, and they talked about when used over a sustained amount of time, the impact that it had on scholars positively, as well as the feedback from parents and families related to this tool. The other thing that I've been liking in terms of the way that the research is talking about it and others who are using it in real time is just how it helps us lean into our MTSS process related to Tier 2 and Tier 3 offerings, support and interventions. That's something that we've been clarifying and wanting to deepen. And so it's a tool that allows us to do that in a more standardized way. So.
Thank you. Yep. So we talked about Summer of Success, and then during the 23-24 academic school year, we will be servicing all scholars within K through 8th grade that fall at or below the 40th percentile in reading, and this will be done site-based. So that, as we talked about, during the summer there might be an option where scholars will be doing this at home. During the 23-24 academic year, the intervention time for high dosage tutoring will be done during the literacy intervention block time. So we're actually working with the team to schedule those targeted supports so that scholars are grouped within their grade level or very similar grade level, and also within their building. So to your point, Ms. Lewis, like if they're grouped physically together during the academic year of 23-24, that is the model that we're looking at. Yeah. There is some professional development that is for the teacher facilitators. It isn't a terribly heavy lift because the majority of the facilitation is done by the virtual tutor. But we do want to make sure that our teachers and our administrators know how to navigate the platform, help scholars navigate the platform, and be able to glean data from the progress monitoring piece through that as well. And again, as Dr. Lovelady Mitchell said, it does directly support our focus on improving scholar literacy and is a direct targeted Tier 2 intervention. Tier 2 intervention, yep.
And we do have a brief on our MTSS system and that whole level 3 language that we've been talking about. That's coming up also.
So I know that presentation was brief. I'm happy to answer any questions, and really just, again, emphasizing, with your support, emphasizing our pre-K-12 literacy plan, and it's unfolding. I appreciate the opportunity to have had multiple conversations with the Academic Achievement Committee around our early literacy plan, our K-12 literacy plan, and this is a piece of that puzzle. So we're excited to continue moving that forward. And this just continue to help focus our emphasis on our priority outcomes within our strategic plan as well.
Questions, concerns, comments?
I do have a couple questions. So just make sure I'm following. So for our pilot this summer, it's reading focused in particular.
All of it is specific to reading. It is a reading focused intervention. So literacy exclusively K through 8. Yep.
Okay, got you then. And then, like you said for this summer, regardless, even students who are not participating in Summer of Success obviously have access to the tool. But I guess as far as participating in Summer of Success, we are still targeting all students who are in that 40th percent or below the 40th percentile in MAP. So all of them are being invited to Summer of Success.
Correct.
And all of those who get that invitation will have access to Book Nook, whether they actually take the invitation to participate or not.
Correct. We're for the summer program, we're gonna have 300 slots. Okay. For the academic year, it will be all scholars that are with us.
Gotcha. So if we have less than 300 students participating in Summer of Success, then we'll have the opportunity for that difference to be available to, if folks.
Yeah, we'll add that in, and we can extend that then through the 23-24 academic year as far as the tutoring sessions that but
Okay.
my goal would be that we do fill those 300 slots. I mean,
Yeah, for sure.
it's just a matter of us sharing this opportunity and emphasizing the importance of it. So.
And then, like you said, moving forward, though, we would be looking to make this available to students regardless of MAP scores or anything. It's just all students will have opportunity to take advantage of Book Nook.
Well, right now, the target is specifically the 40th percentile or below, because we recognize
That's for the summer as well as moving forward?
Yes,
that
for
being the target?
23-24 is also that target. Yep.
But I have to tell you, if a scholar asked for it or a family parent asked for it, we will open up a slot for them. We're just really focusing in on, we see a need for you scholar, the group of scholars, and so we're focusing on you first. You're our main priority in it, so.
So with that, is that district-wide implementation piece, from a cost perspective, is that a sort of a tier piece where, I guess what I'm getting at is, from a cost perspective, well, just tell me how does the pricing work for that? Is it based on up to 10,000 or whatever? I guess what I'm trying to get at is, while I do understand the focus should definitely be on those who are the less than 40th percentile, so maybe the more assertive or aggressive invitations will be to those, but it also seems like there might be an opportunity for invitation to everyone, but again, maybe the stronger focus on those who we know are struggling. So that's why I'm curious on, could we get to a point for even this coming school year where the invitation is to everyone? And I guess that's what I'm trying to understand. Is this a cost thing that has us focus on the less than 40 percentile folks? Or even though we know that's the need, I'm rambling now, but I'm hoping you follow my question.
Yeah, I appreciate that question. I think the lens that we've approached this with is being that being a tier 2 intervention, it would be targeted to small groups of scholars based on need. Now that's the lens we have approached it with. That does not mean that we could not approach it with a lens of just having the Book Nook tutoring available to all scholars. I think one of the things that it will probably be good to do a follow-up update on is other tutoring options too, because Book Nook is one specific piece about literacy, right? And there's multiple components to that, but that's something that we could discuss. I mean, that's
And we'll bring back some of that data, because some of the data on that was released earlier this year, but we'll bring that data back. Yep, for sure. Put it on a future update.
All right, anything else for the two of them? Yeah. All right.
Okay.
Oh,
So-
I'm sorry.
No.
Summer schools. Is that what
What's
you?
the name of it?
Summer of Success. Yeah,
Summer of
yep,
Success.
Yep.
Is this isn't the first year, right?
No, so summer, we've offered summer school multiple years. Mr. Atkins here has been historically a point
Okay.
coordinator of that, and we work very closely. So it's been multiple years offering summer school. This is just another tool in the toolbox.
That you'll be using so are the numbers have y'all seen it hard to fill up those slots, or are parents bringing them? What's the attendance like?
Well, I don't think we're at the point yet where we've got enrollment down for this summer.
Right.
I know historically when we have enrollment versus actual participation, it runs about 60%, maybe a little bit higher historically, but we don't have the enrollment yet
Right.
because it's a little bit early.
I'm
We're
just
working
w-
through that process.
So, okay, so the question I have was, have we thought about maybe incentivizing scholars to attend and complete the whole Summer of Success at all? Just wondering to try to get our scholars there. And because I'm a mom and I'm so happy summer comes, I don't have to wake nobody up, get them there. I don't have to do that stuff, you know. So if I, you know, if my scholars were like, Mom, I gotta go because at the end we get to do this or we have these celebrations, are there some type of incentive that we can do for our scholars that actually come and complete, or are we doing that?
Let me do this. Let me ask Mr. Atkins and his team to come back up at a later time to address that. I know he's in the audience, so I know he took note of that, and so he'll come back at a different time and give an update to that in particular and just forecast Summer of Success and some of the themes that he's seen over the years. Is that okay?
Yeah.
Let me also just say this. I apologize because I should not have been talking from the front row. I will keep it tighter and come to the table for the sake of hearing and protocol and all of that. I also just want to take a point of liberty and say it's March. I've made fun of March Madness, but I want to say this in terms of where we are in the season of teaching and learning. March sometimes is a hard month, so it's March Madness also because of the toll of the cumulative year and everything that has been endured and still being in a pandemic. So I know you know this, but I think it's important for me to say, people work hard. The people in this room work hard to make things go. And we do have some things to work on, and we're tightening and all of that. But folks are working hard, not just during the weekdays at 8 to 5, but before that, after that, and on the weekends. So I feel like it's important for me to say that during March Madness because it is a little wild. City, I want to update you. Matthew said that city event that he talked about is Thursday the 23rd, 5:30 to 7:30. The 23rd. And I know that we will either, in Dr. Roby's weekly announcements, have something more on that, but it's the 23rd. And then a number of things are already forecasted in terms of upcoming topics. So for sure, the Summer of Success, revisiting tutorial services. We talked about the Equity and Inclusion Clause that we talked about during the Instructional Council, coming back up. English language learning brief. There's a math plan, graduation data, and the tuition base pre-K services that are currently in existence and how we've been talking about it related to FMP also. And so those things are coming up. And if there are other things that you want to hear about related to topics and other, I think let Chairperson Ross know, and then he'll let me know, and then we'll work that into the schedule too. But I thank you, and so if I had an ask related to how you support, when you see the folks of DRPS, certainly love on them, affirm them for all of the hard work as you have been doing, and know that we know that the love also comes with, what about, are you minding the gaps? We get that, but still love on them, affirm them for what has happened thus far.
Could I add on to that?
Yeah.
I was at Aberdeen today, and I've been there quite often reading during March's Reading Month. Those teachers work so hard. I mean, their rooms are beautiful. The kids are, most of the kids are truly engaged. The fifth graders had an off day today, but most of the time, and the building is well run. You walk into the building and you can tell things are just clipping along, and kids aren't in the hall hanging out. And so I'm proud of that school, and I'm proud of those teachers, and I'm sure that they are just a reflection of the teachers we have all over the district.
I agree. Thank you for that.
One good thing I saw, we did have a tile for strategic plan update. Obviously, that's not happening today. I just saw we had it in our slide deck.
Yeah, the strategic plan update, that tile is always in there. And I think it's so funny that you said it, because I was thinking about how I do that differently, because my strategic plan update really happens through the implementation of the topics that come after it, because I feel like those bullet points that come after it, IB, Montessori, enrollment update, comprehensive, support, improvement. Those are in the book nook, for example, for tonight, are the things that are operationalizing how we get to priority scholar outcomes and address the themes that we have. And so I'm going to do that better. But that is the update.
Or maybe it's just a matter of with the updates pointing out
Which theme and which
maybe.
priority.
Yeah.
Okay, I agree. We can do that. The other piece that wasn't on here that usually is a staple is we usually have a tile on ESSER update, and you all just had that ESSER update last night. And the only thing that I would illuminate is that in one of the upcoming sessions, I'm scheduled to give a brief forecasting or reflection of our vetting process too, related to instructional council or other. So
Can I
That's
ask
the
a
piece.
question related to the SR date when we
No.
talked to?
go with that.
Because okay, I gotta go too. Yes.
Nice and loud.
Okay, so Mel was talking about the CSI,
Yes.
and last night I heard Dr. Roby mention ESSER funds that are tied to how we support our scholars. And she specifically said providing snacks and things after school for our programs and after school programs. But when I was thinking about like how we address some of the needs for our scholars after school, I was thinking about the high schools where, you know, our athletes are not being fed or may not be being fed. I know I didn't get fed after school before basketball practice. So just wondering if that is something that has been thought of, is that possible, and just want to put it out there, I guess.
So another topic to explore is how are we feeding or the nutrition that takes place for after-school programs and athletics in particular.
Yeah, because when we think about after school, we're thinking about like Loop or and
Right.
things like that. But
Other-
we have high school students who have had the lunch that they might not be pleased with, but then they have to go and exert so much energy before games and things like that.
We'll put that on the docket as well.
Okay.
All right, I guess if there isn't anything else, our meeting is adjourned. Thank you
Thank
very much.
you.
I'm gonna give that back to you.
Come looking for
No, you won't have to, not this time. I've got a better hiding place.